All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to go ahead and introduce today's speaker, Greg Brewer, Director of Sales Development for PracticeDock. Greg brings to you today over 30 years of business and sales development experience to this discussion. He has served as a world-renowned Sandler training sales coach. He is currently responsible for managing and directing and developing sales strategies for PracticeDock's suite of online doctor marketing products, including the award-winning patient referral network, locateddoc.com, and other private practice marketing products such as website control, call tracking, keyword marketing, patient education, and video services. Welcome, Greg.
Thanks, Jenny. Good afternoon here on the East Coast. Good morning out on the West Coast. Today we're going to be discussing generating revenue from online patient leads. I don't know about all of you, but many of you have let us know that leads are getting harder and harder to come by in the elective surgeries and elective procedures market. And each lead's got to be worked differently than they used to in years past for a number of reasons. And one of the things I want to start with is, what is the definition of a lead? Basically, a lead is an individual who's expressed some interest in your product or service. And that's it. A lead is somebody that said, I'm interested in what your practice does. But in years past, when there were so many different leads, we were only cherry-picking the leads that we thought we could close. And this day and time, what many people have figured out is that their practices and procedures are being commoditized. And with them being commoditized means that they're actually being shopped, more like car services or insurance and that type stuff. When they used to talk to an individual practice, make a decision. Now they may be calling 3, 4, 5, 6 practices. These online leads, just because they filled out an online lead for you doesn't mean that they didn't fill it out for another doctor. And then depending on who you're getting your leads from or how you're getting your leads, some leads are farmed out in a region to where they might be given to 7, 8, 9 practices within instead of an individual, like, for example, PracticeDock, our leads are individual leads to the individual doctor. They've expressed that they want to talk to that doctor. Some of your leads may be, I want to talk to somebody in your realm of work, but not necessarily individualized to yourself. So we have to keep those in mind when we're discussing these leads. One of the things that we need to look at is there's 3 different levels of leads. The first is it's a lead. The second is a qualified lead, and the third is a sales-ready lead. And we all want the sales-ready lead. The problem is not every lead is a sales-ready lead. What we have to do is we've got to be able to qualify the lead and to see if it's sales-ready. Some of the things that we have to look for when I have a lead to take it to the next level to see if it's a qualified lead is, do we have the right demographic? Is this someone who fits the profile of one of your best customers? And that could be anything from, are they too far away? Like, for example, if we went into dentistry and veneers, our people aren't going to drive 1,000 miles for veneers necessarily, but they may for plastic surgery. So you will have to define what is the right client for you and see if they start to qualify themselves in the right demographic. It could be miles, it could be weight, it could be a series of things depending on what practice you're working on. Once you've identified what the right demographic is, am I speaking to the right person? The person who is the decision maker, which would be the ultimate, but it may be an influence person or at least somebody that can recommend your services to the right person. So I want to make sure that I can understand who I'm speaking with in that lead and if they're the right person, therefore taking them from a lead more into a qualified lead. The third thing is I want to see if what I have can actually fix what their pain or their problem is. The potential patient has indicated that they need or want one of your services. I want to make sure that that's a real pain point. A lot of people have challenges, but they're not willing to take the energy, the finances, or whatever to fix the problem that they have. One, is it a problem that I can fix? And two, are they willing, and not only willing, but are they able, and in many cases financially able, to pay to fix that pain in their life? The next thing that we need to look at is, are they in a realistic timeline of when they want this procedure done? Do they want it done in 3 weeks? Do they want it done in 18 weeks? Do they want it done in 18 months? And a potential patient is willing to make a buying decision within a timeline. And depending on the practice and what you do, that could be, for example, if someone wants it done in 3 weeks and you're booked for 5 weeks, then they're starting to disqualify themselves unless you can talk them into a different timeline. And another situation, if they're looking at a procedure for 18 months from now, these procedures are changing so quickly, there may be a new procedure on 18 months which they don't want the procedure that they're talking about today. So there again, to take a lead to a qualified lead, I'm looking for a realistic timeline. And then lastly, are they willing to engage with us? The prospect's got to be ready and willing to receive further contact from you, and I call it sales contact because ultimately that's what we're trying to do, is sell a service or a procedure that we offer. Without engagement, there's never going to be a sale. So the engagement is the glue that attaches us to that lead and starts to work them to see if they're qualified and eventually to a sales-ready lead. Some of the best practices that we need to do when we're communicating with these online leads is, number one, is speed. It's amazing how many times we'll go into the back end on the PracticeDock back end of some of our clients and realize that they haven't touched that lead in 4, 5, 6 days. Leads aren't like bananas. They don't age like bananas, or they don't age like wine. They age like bananas. Wine ferments and grows better. Bananas rot, and a lead that doesn't get touched in a timely manner is going to go away and find somebody else to work with. What we have noticed is some of the practices are so in touch with it, they're touching these leads many times before they ever leave their website because they've got a flag popping up letting them know that somebody has filled out the information. They're calling them. They've still got their actual website up, or they've got their information online. What a better time could you have rather than they've already got you in front of them on their computer and you're responding to them. The mindset of many people and the attention span is like of a gnat in this day and time. They jump on this, they take a look at one word, and this word flips them over to the other side of the universe as far as the Internet's concerned, and their mind's thinking in a total different direction. If I can touch them while they're still on my website, I have a much better opportunity to set up a consultation. There again, we've made a commitment in our office to try to touch every lead within 24 hours of the time that they've contacted us. Many of them we can get to within an hour or two. Others we may be a day. But the sooner I get to them, the fresher what they saw, the fresher their questions, and the better opportunity I have before they start talking to my competitors. The second thing we need to realize is courtesy. And what I mean by this is on our call tracking product, and I know it's tough in the office. Many of these offices are understaffed. They're doing 3 things at once, and the phone rings, and it gets picked up, and it's answering it, not realizing that that person could be a $5,000 procedure. That person could be your next surgery. And if we could always realize that that next lead, whether it's a phone lead or an online lead, is a potential next surgery, and before we pick up the phone and just answered and responded to it, the courtesy alone, that first impression is going to be by far greater, and I want to give them a sense of ease and a sense of trust they're not going to allow a procedure done from somebody they don't trust. And the first point of contact, human interaction, marketing's done its job once it got the phone to ring, or somebody to fill out the online information. Once that is done, marketing's done its job. As soon as human interaction kicks in, marketing's complete and sales begins. And so the first impression, whether it be in my email response or on the phone, has got to be courtesy. I want them to feel liked and trusted, not that they're interrupting the 3 other things I'm doing in the moment. And so many times we hear that. You hear that in your voice inflections. The next thing I want to do is I want to qualify that lead. And when I say qualify, I actually want to make sure and try to disqualify them. And what I mean by that is, for example, I could need the exact procedure that your office performs, but I can't afford it. And I use that one because everybody can relate to that. How many times have you had a procedure or had a consultation only to find out that the person couldn't afford it? That should have never been set up as a consultation to begin with if the qualification on the phone was done tactfully and up front. And since I'm on the money's not naturally not going to be the first thing I'm going to ask them, but when I get to the money discussion, were they planning on financing this? Do they have some sort of financing example like Care Credit or some of their competitors out there? How do they plan on taking care of the financial responsibility for the procedure they're about to ask? Some of them may still think that they can get it done on insurance, and if this is an uninsurable an elective procedure, that's not the case. I can disqualify them quickly. Some of the other qualifications in bariatrics, they might be too heavy to do certain procedures, and they need to go to weight loss first before they can have any of the bariatric procedures done. There may be situations where they're smokers and you can't take them as a smoker. When best to find that out? Find it out over the phone and start creating a relationship with them without having them come into the office for a consultation? Or do we set up 15 hours of consultations to find out that 8 or 9 of them weren't qualified on something I could have dealt with over the phone in the beginning? There's a series of things that you can do ahead of time so that you're only setting up qualified leads for consultation. And with time, most of these offices are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. There's only 40 hours in that week. If you're setting up consultations that are with non-qualified people, we're wasting time and energy on stuff that we could be replacing with a procedure and qualified patients. The next thing that I think is very important is don't sell the procedure over the phone. We hear this in the recorded calls through call tracking, and the only thing I can sell over the phone is a consultation, is an appointment. If I try to sell a procedure over the phone, I'm going to fail miserably. I want to be able to sell them on a consultation without seeing the person, without the physiology. That's the opportunity to sell somebody. We do a lot of free consulting over the phone, and we never get them in the office, and we never get a procedure out of them. I want to do that face-to-face, not over the phone. And then the last thing I want to make sure that we do is I want to make sure that we gather all information. And what I mean by all information, I want to make sure I've got addresses, phone numbers, emails, the best way to contact them, because I want to create and engage these people in communication, whether they're a quick sale to a procedure or there's something that's going to take time. If you look at it from the consumer's stance, they may have talked to multiple doctors, and it's going to get down to trust, okay? And the way I can generate trust is by gathering the information and creating a form of communication with them that's going to allow me to build trust. And that's why I want to make sure I've got the proper names. I may want their weight, their age, whatever you need to handle your procedure. I want to gather that information, build it in my notes, so that when we're communicating later, I've got it, and it sounds to them like I really care and I know what situation they're in all of this is to get them from lead to qualified lead to where we can get them in for a consultation and hopefully a sales-ready lead. Now, there are some techniques and strategies to qualify a lead before a consultation. And one of the simple things, and I've seen this in larger offices, many times multiple people are answering the phone. To create a form of uniformity within the office, I may have a list of questions sitting beside the phone of things that qualify a patient. I may also have a list of things that disqualify a patient, okay? And if everybody's asking those questions and checking off, okay, that one qualifies and that one qualifies and this one disqualifies them, and everybody's speaking out of the same side of their mouth, look at what the practice is going to look like to the consumer. Because ultimately our revenue is made from the consumer. And if the consumer is getting a uniform set of questions when they call in, they know that these people are on the right track. I also want to find out a time frame. What type of a time frame do they have to have this procedure done? Because like I said earlier, that may be a disqualifying question. I also want to find out that financial situation, as we spoke about earlier. The other thing, and this is becoming more and more frequent than it ever has, is how many doctors have they actually consulted with? Most practices won't ask that. They're assuming that they're the first ones they've come into. You may be the third doctor that they're consulting with. That question opens up a whole new line of communication in the fact that if they've already consulted with a doctor, well, I'm confused why you didn't use that doctor. You'll find out why they're hesitant, and ultimately it's going to end up to some form of lack of trust in either their ability or the way they were handled or something like that. But most offices aren't going to ask that. How many doctors have you consulted with? Well, I've talked to 3 and I've actually been in the office with 1. There's a whole line of communication there. That communication, if I, instead of trying to sell them the procedure, go through that information, well, how many more doctors do you think you're going to need to go through? What is your decision process in choosing a doctor? They'll tell you how to sell them if you'll listen. And you're building trust when they're speaking, not when you're speaking. So if I can get them communicating over the phone, people that they like themselves and people that they trust, by allowing them to speak instead of us dictating how the call goes, I start building trust. And that may be the edge that I need to take them away from another practice and make my choice, our practice, that choice. The other thing I want to do, and most people don't do this, we've got a little piece, an ancillary product that we use called patient education. Whether you have patient education or not, I like to assign homework to a consultation before I have them come in for a consultation. There's a couple of reasons for that. If they're asking about a procedure, have they studied it? And I may take them or direct them to somewhere out on the internet, whether it's on my own website, whether it's somewhere else that they go find. I want them to understand the procedure that they're talking about. They may be coming in and saying, look, I want this done. They don't even know the procedure name. I give them a little education. This is the procedure. What I need you to do is a little homework and study the procedure. The reason I want to do that is so many times a consultation becomes another form of free consulting because they come into the office, they don't understand the procedure, they don't know how it's going to go, and the consultation time ends up being educating them on the procedure. Sometimes the procedure alone will scare them once they understand what it is. Other times they're okay with it and will move forward. But wouldn't it be nice to know that, oh, after I saw that procedure and the information about it, I'm afraid to do it, I'm going to have to cancel my consultation. Because that's just as important. I gain an hour back in my day that I didn't have in a consultation. The other situation we run into, it's a great opener for the consultation. Did you get an opportunity to do your homework? Did you get an opportunity to look at the procedure? If they said no, what does that tell you about their engagement level on this procedure? What is their interest level if they didn't do the homework? It creates a I now know where to take the conversation in the consultation. Well, as opposed to going right into a sales mode, whereas they've studied it, they've studied the procedure, and I can actually go out and say, what part of the procedure scares you the most? What part of the procedure are you still unclear about? And I'm going right into those questions, takes the consultation in a whole different angle. I want to engage their interest level, and assigning homework is a great opener to that consultation. Did you get an opportunity to go through the information that I had requested? And you can follow it up in an email after the initial call. These are the websites I want you to go to. This is the information I want you to read. And then I say, did you read the information that I forwarded you in the email? If they said no, I know exactly where to take the consultation. If they said yes, I know exactly where to take the consultation. And it takes the guesswork out of it. And then lastly, I want to document all this above information in notes for this consumer. Now, how to turn a lead into a consultation and eventually into a procedure. This is something, qualified leads, they've done their homework and they make for the best consultations. If the homework was done when the consult, then the consult can be used to answer any unresolved questions, and the consult becomes a selling of the procedure and not an education of the procedure. I want to take that consult time to build trust and to sell the procedure, because that's what the ultimate consultation is for, is to secure the procedure. If I've done the right qualifications up front, I know where the money's coming from, I know they have the money, I know they're within the weight ranges, I know that they're not a smoker or that they are a smoker and it's okay for this procedure, and I know those things up front. I don't have to waste my consult time with all that. My consult time is used to sell the prospect. And then lastly, not everybody signs up at the initial consultation. Not everybody makes a decision. And do we have any type of post-consultation follow-up? That is something that I think is extremely important in this day and time. And the reason I say that is some of these people are going to 2 and 3 and 4 doctors now because they've commoditized our services in a down economy, and they're looking for better pricing. They're looking for who feels best with them. There's a plethora of reasons why they're doing this, but decisions tend to be coming slower than they have in years past, and I need to have a post-consultation follow-up procedure in place. And I need to ask myself, are we staying in touch with those that are wanting procedure outside of our normal timeline? Our timelines may be changing. Or there's somebody said, look, I'm having the procedure done 18 months out. Well, what's 18 months out? Well, for some it could be I turn of legal age. For others it could be I'm getting a settlement. For others it could be the tax return money's coming in. Whatever the case might be, if I'm finding that out, then I can put them in my pipeline, in my post-consultation follow-ups, or in my leads that aren't sales ready at this point, and start working a marketing campaign towards them. And that process is what I need to have in place. Do we actually have a process to stay in touch with patients after their procedure if we go with patients? With consults, I need to have a process, but also with patients, I need to have a process. And I can take a lead into a patient, and patients will eventually, many patients, if they had a good experience with you, will have additional procedures done with you. So I'm now crossing out of patients because old patients are new prospects again. They're repeat business. So if somebody's gone through a consultation and they end up in my post-consultation follow-up, they also end up in a box with my patients that have already had procedures done, and now I start to group them in together, and I can actually create a process to stay in touch with past patients and past consultations that didn't make a decision within the timeline. One of the things that we can do is we can use that will entice past leads to re-engage old leads and old patients or past patients. One of the things when I start talking about this, I have to go to this. Out of the last, let's say, for example, I did 10 consultations last October. Of those 10 consultations that I did last October, I should have a way to know how many of them had the procedure done outside of my office. They had the procedure done, they just didn't have it done through our office. If I don't have that answer, that already tells me that I've probably got a weak link in my post-consultation follow-up, because I want to take them out of my database, at least for a procedure, if they've already had that procedure done. If I don't know that they've had the procedure done, then I don't know where to take this person. I'll use specials like this to entice them into my office for something else. For past patients, I'll also use specials like what you're seeing there on the screen to do the same thing. I want to re-engage people, re-engage past consultations, re-engage patients. The other thing that we'll do a lot of times is, and as you can see here, Dr. David Reef, he does email marketing, newsletters, direct mails, blogs. This particular doctor probably does one of the better jobs of one of our current clients. He has got himself out in front in social media and online, and all the people that have ever come through his office that have his email, that he's got their email addresses, they're getting engaged. He's becoming the resident expert. You can become your community expert on social media and things like that, and this is what's nurturing those past patients and those past leads and building trust. Those things are huge for building trust. Do you have, and I guess the question I have to ask is, do you have a process to stay in touch with both patients and past leads? This is what he's using right now. Do you have a process? And then one of the things that is really becoming more and more common in a lot of procedures, in a lot of practices, is hosting events, bringing people into the office so that it's not just they go to the office to have a procedure. It becomes like Old Home Week. It's a great opportunity to revisit the people that did your procedure. If I'm a past patient and I get to go back in and see the anesthesiologist, or I get to go back in and see the nurse that helped me, or the doctor, and talk to them at a social level. Hosting of these events, one of the things you can get your current clients to do is, if they were pleased, and it's not just for them, they can bring a friend. Have a friend come with you to host the event. Now you got an office full of past clients and potential leads. And who better to sell your leads than your patients? They'll do a much better job than you can. And they are already there. They can speak about you. There's also another thing that you may want to do is your approved contacts, people that are willing to talk about their procedures. This is a great opportunity to show them off and to give out their information if they're willing to talk about the procedure they've had done. Some people love that. And then you can also have hard copies of your testimonials in a book at the event that you host. That's another thing that you can use in your email blogs and those type things, is your testimonials. But if you want to maximize, and so many people aren't good at putting events together, I guarantee you, if you can get some existing patients that you've done good work with, have them bring a few friends. Don't make it so formal. Make it more casual. Have fun. Take an hour and a half one evening and create this environment. You're going to generate patients. You're going to generate leads. I ran a little longer than I had wanted to. Jenny, I'm not sure we're going to be able to get to any questions today because I know everybody's on their lunch. Can you take over and explain how we're going to deal with this?
Sure. First off, thank you, Greg. Very, very insightful. I'm sure a lot of you guys might have some questions and pointers. If you do, definitely send the questions in. You're going to get a prompt when you log off of this. It's going to pop up and ask for additional questions. You can do so that way. You can also email Greg at solutions@practicedock.com or call him directly at 886-7731. And again, thank you so much. We appreciate you guys joining us today. Have any questions, give us a call, send us an email, and we'll join you on the next one. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks. Have a great day.